November 20th at 2:07 p.m. I'm Susan Yankee. I'm the chair and I'm a parent member. So again, the acronym reminder, everybody, if you use an acronym, please, please, please just kind of spell it out only the first time you use it. Jennifer is keeping tabs and she has a quarter jar for acronyms. Council purpose and function. So the SAC brings together the Connecticut State Department of Education, which is CSDE, educators, related service providers, administrators, legislators, parents, as well as students and persons with disabilities. All dedicated to supporting the education of the students with disabilities. And through these meetings, our priorities and recommendations for the CSDE and the Connecticut General Assembly are formed, and then they're submitted through an annual report. So more detailed information is on the Connecticut State Department of Education website, along with past videos of meetings and past annual reports. Introduction and roles. So members, I'm going to call on you and would you please introduce yourself and your role on the council? And I am going to start with Missy.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Missy Wrigley. I am a consultant at the State Education Resource Center, and I am on the council as a parent of a young man with a disability.
Great. Nachi, would you go next?
Thank you, Susan. Good afternoon, everybody. Nachi Bhatt, representing students in foster care and Department of Children and Families.
Thank you so much. Catherine?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I represent Aging and Disability Services, Bureau of Education and Services for the Blind.
Wonderful. Tom?
Who am I? Tom Kosker. I'm just trying to think of a role. Make sure I get this right. Tom Kosker, advocate with Disability Rights Connecticut, the protection advocacy system here in Connecticut. I'm on the SAC in that role. I am also a parent of a child with a disability.
Wonderful. Mia?
Good afternoon, everybody. Mia Giantonio, student representative.
Thank you so much, Mia. Okay, Lori?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lori Fortuna, and I'm a parent stakeholder.
Wonderful. Michael?
Yes, hi, good afternoon. Michael Scanlon. I'm here as a person with a disability representing students and youth.
Wonderful. Jennifer?
Hi, I'm Jen Lucier, and I am transitioned now to be the representative for the Connecticut Parent Advocacy Center, our parent training and information center for Connecticut, and I represent families of students with disabilities, and I'm also a parent.
Wonderful. Jeff?
Yes, I'm a parent of a young man with disabilities or challenges, I would like to say. I'm the chairman of the legislative committee and the president of the Jolie Fan Club Annex.
Amy?
Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Messenger, and I'm here today as a parent member.
Wonderful. Brian?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Brian Klipkowitz, Special Education Division Director in the Connecticut State Department of Ed.
Wonderful. Josh?
Good afternoon. I'm Josh Martin. I'm the Director of People Services with East Haddam Public Schools, and I'm serving as a representative from the Connecticut Association of Special Education Administrators.
Thank you so much, Josh. Kim?
Hi, I'm Kim Williamson, and I represent speech language pathologists.
Thank you. Representative Comey?
Hi, State Representative Comey, Robin Comey. I sit on the Education Committee, Committee on Children, and the Human Services Committee right now. So thanks for having me.
No, thank you. We really appreciate you. Louis?
Hi, Louis Talarita, Connecticut State Department of Education, representing the role of McKinney-Vento State Coordinator.
Wonderful. Jolie? Is Jolie not on?
Yes,
Oh,
Jolie.
there you are.
April Fool, Jolie Medina. support staff to the SAC, handing my torch over to Holly and Christine. So you will start to receive emails from them, but Jolie will always be here for you. And assistant to the Division Director of Special Education, Brian Klimkowitz.
Wonderful. Holly?
Hi, everyone. Holly Ryan, Project Specialist at the State Education Resource Center.
Wonderful. Christine?
Hi, all. Christine Killowind, consultant at the State Education Resource Center.
Wonderful. Is there anybody else that I'm missing? Because we only have 15 of SAC members right now. Okay, so wonderful. Next, we have our consent agenda. We need to approve the minutes, and we are not going to be able to do that. Brian, am I correct without having?
I
I
believe now.
think, Susan, I think you're okay with the,
Okay.
I'm subtracting 3 from 20. You have 20 online right now. Subtracting Matt, Christine, Ryan, Holly, and you can count Joe. We had, Jen, you had mentioned that there's a couple of vacancies currently, correct?
Yeah.
So if we have 30, so that's 35, so that we're at 17, so 1 short. Yeah, you're 1 short from quorum at this point. So
Okay.
we could table the vote at this point if you want to proceed.
Yeah, and we
We'll
can't even
just
take
keep our eyes open
Yeah.
on them. Yeah.
and we can't take a vote to table the vote, but we will table the vote on the minutes.
Yeah.
That's how it works, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks, Susan.
wonderful. Thank you. Did I skip public comment? I did. Is there anyone here for public?
I would have, nope. I would
Okay,
have.
thank you, Jolie. So
Susan,
sorry
you
about
are
that.
welcome. No worries.
Okay, great. So next would be old business. I don't have a lot. And I'm so glad Representative Comey is here because I wanted to just quick double check at the legislative breakfast. Do we have it set for January 22nd, 11 a.m. to 12? I believe that's all set. And then the snow date has changed to February 26th. That would be before our in-person 10 a.m. meeting. And I believe we are working, Jolie, Representative Comey, on the LOB for our February 26th meeting to be there. Do you know how we would go about that? Do you want me to?
I'm waiting to hear back from Cass. So,
Okay.
yep.
Okay, so we're hoping for the LOB to be meeting place. LOB is going to be the Legislative Office Building. Sorry, I used an acronym. Will be our meeting place for February 26th. And if it's a snow date, we will then have our legislative breakfast right before that. Okay, next annual report.
So I'm sorry, so you're trying to get a room on the 26th?
February 26th, yeah, to have our 10 to 2.
A hearing room?
Yeah, any room. Doesn't have to be a hearing room. Yeah, I know how busy it'll be.
Yeah, what day of the week is that?
Wednesday.
Yeah. That could
Okay.
be tricky, and I don't know if they will commit this far out when they don't have the schedules. But,
Great.
okay.
So maybe we should reserve nearby though, at least in case we end up having the legislative, because we do have the snow date for the legislative breakfast in the morning on the 26th. Is that correct?
Waiting for confirmation on that
Waiting for
one.
confirmation. Thank you, Jolie.
That's the same email, and I'm just gonna resend it because it's easier to resend than to have people look through their emails when this is just an easy thing for me to resend. So I'll get that email out again.
Okay, and then we'll meet nearby probably.
Yep.
then.
Thank you.
Okay.
We will. So that's Holly and Christine. That's an action item. We have to reserve a space for February 26th in the event that we cannot meet at the LOB.
Yes, definitely.
And I would say, Jolie, we can also ask for room 310 if they have it.
Okay.
What time is the meeting? It's like till 1 though, right?
10 to 2, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's tricky.
Okay.
Why is
because if we're in session, we use that room for lunch, but again, we wouldn't know.
Okay. We'll just have a backup space and then cross.
You got it.
Meaning there could be a room at the Capitol or something, I guess.
Okay, wonderful. That's so wonderful that we have you here, Representative Comey. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next annual report workshop is December 5th, 11 to 12. The special ed task force is still working on their recommendations report for the legislature. And our next meeting is Monday, December 2nd from 10 to noon, and it's usually streamed on CTN. So that's all I have for the executive committee report. Other than we are still working on the annual report. I would love Ms. Catherine Sum, though. She has a lot of important membership.
I do, and we actually have two fantastic candidates to consider for our two parent vacancies. But we don't have a quorum, so we can't vote.
I saw someone else just, oh, we have another person.
Yeah. You
All
do?
right, so we're all set?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, excellent. Okay, so we have two parent vacancies. We have Tammy Racio's vacancy and the newly vacated position that Jen Lucier held, but now she is the CPAC representative. So we had a number of fantastic candidates to consider filling the vacancies. Really, it's so great that so many people are interested in the SAC. So the committee worked very hard to determine who the best candidates would be at this moment in time. And we have two potential candidates that we would like to recommend. And the first one is Brandolyn Williams. She lives and works in Norwalk. She's an individual with a disability, and she's also a parent of a child with a disability. And on her application, she's interested in the SAC. I will read from the application. I'm interested in learning more about special education on a state level. I would like to be a resource for parents in Lower Fairfield County. I am passionate about encouraging parents to establish a positive relationship with the school system. She also listed that she's a parent representative on the Norwalk Early Childhood Council. She's a member of the Cranberry Elementary School Governance Council, and she's a parent leader roundtable member on the Connecticut Parent Advocacy Coalition, CPAC. She has also served as the PTO president at the Norwalk Early Childhood Center. Does anyone have any questions about Brandolyn? No? Okay, would someone?
Catherine,
Yes.
Did she appear at one of our meetings as an observer? Wasn't she, or no?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay, I thought I'd heard the name. Okay, thank you.
Okay, could be at some point, but I don't recall that, Jeff.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? No? Okay, would someone like to make a motion that we vote to accept Brandolyn's application?
I would like to do that since she's from Norwalk.
Great.
Missy will second.
Thanks, Missy. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Great. Okay, so we have our first new member. Okay, and our second candidate is Stacy Palker. She lives and works in Stamford, and she's the parent of two children with disabilities. And on her application, this is why she stated she's interested in the SAC. As a parent of two hard of hearing teens, I have spent so much time advocating with them and teaching them to advocate for themselves. Often parents reach out to me for advice, and I help them find solutions and find their own voice. I recently received an additional master's as a teacher of the deaf. I'd be honored to help in any way possible. Anyone have any questions about Stacy?
Well, I think it would be good to have her because a lot of the times when we're doing some of our legislative stuff, we're talking about having American Sign Language as a way of communication, so she might be helpful in that regard.
Good point, Jeff. Anyone else have any questions or any other points they'd like to add? No? Would someone like to make a motion to accept Stacy's application? Okay, Susan, and who'd like to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, thanks, Jen. Okay, all in favor say aye or raise your hand. Aye. Any opposed? Fabulous. Look at us. We have two new members. So I I know our our meeting minutes will reflect this, but I will also reach out to them after the meeting to let them know. And thank you, everyone. for consi-
Catherine, first I want to say thank you to the membership committee and to you. You really worked very hard. This is quite a few people.
Yeah.
You really did a great job. I so appreciate it. And is there any way the parents that did not get chosen, because we had so many, is there any way to send them a note saying we're going to keep their applications?
Yeah, actually, I was going to do that too. I wanted to wait until we voted and accepted these two candidates before I reached out to those individuals, because I really think that we would like to, I would hope they would like to have their applications kept on file.
They were all, every single person was overqualified. They were,
Yeah.
it was impressive.
Yeah, very, very impressive. We are so fortunate that so many people are interested in joining the SAC. So I will also reach out to them, and maybe at some point in the future, we'll have positions available for them as well.
A quick comment, Catherine, on that. I mean, if you, when you do that, just say, I mean, invite them to attend meetings, right? Because
Absolutely.
so oftentimes they're not a voting member, but who cares, right? Like
Right.
we sort of care because we need the quorum and stuff. But I know I attended for a while as not a member. I believe
Okay.
Jen has. I think a number of us have attended these
Yeah.
meetings without being a member. And correct me if I'm wrong, somebody on the call, but they're more than welcome to join as a member of the public, right?
Yes.
And be in the space as a member of the public. So and learn about it and shows their interest, and they can anyway, and often in certain of the conversations they can chime in their input as well, certainly on things. So I would encourage them to, still come once in a while if
Yeah.
you're able to, and here's the schedule and it's posted on the website and yada yada. Because next thing you know, a month or two from now, we have someone else leave, and then we can kind of slide them right in, sort of a thing. So anyway.
Absolutely. That's a really good point, Tom. I will make sure I include our the link to our website so that they can find the meeting minutes and information about the meetings. And I would also just like to give a shout out to Lori Fortuna, because Lori has worked so hard to try and recruit student members. Mia, we are so happy to have you. We still have 3 student vacancies. So if anyone knows a student who might be interested in joining the SAC, I'm more than happy to answer any questions they may have or their parents may have, but we know the student voice is so important. So hopefully we'll have more student members soon.
Josh, can I ask you in regards to student members, because you have all the work with all the special education directors, is there a good path for us to take to, because we've all kind of put our feelers, but is there a really good path to kind of find out students that would be interested to be part of the SAC?
I can reach out to the directors and try to recruit through that. Maybe through, I'm wondering also looking at like our Best Buddies collaborations, and they always do leadership stuff with students. So I'm wondering if that might be a focus too. I can reach out to our Best Buddies contact and maybe Unified Sports Person contact, because that's like kind of building student leadership through that within the aspect of students with disabilities. So I can work on that.
Great. Thank you, Josh. I'm making a note to send you the student recruitment flyer that we put together a few weeks ago. So I will do that. And I would also like to announce that all of the governor appointments came through. So if you were waiting for an appointment letter, congratulations, you received yours. If for some reason you did not, please let me know, but I believe everyone has finally received their appointment letter. So thanks. And thank you, Brian. I know that you worked hard to get those letters to come through for a very, very long time. So thank you.
Thank you. And Brian also put in the chat, Youth Advisory Board, and
okay.
to look at those groups,
Yeah.
Youth Advisory Council.
Okay.
I think Jennifer had reached out, right? Yeah.
Okay, great.
Anything else for membership? But thank you, Catherine. It's a big job and I really appreciate you take it on.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you, Susan. Thanks for your support.
Okay, then Mr. Jeffrey Spar, we would now please like to have the legislative committee report.
So what I did was I put together kind of the invitation to the people on the council to invite them to participate in the legislative committee. I heard from Joshua saying that he wanted to stay on, and of course, that's great. So I had sent it to Jolie, and I think Jolie disseminated it to everybody on the council. So if anybody wants to serve on the legislative committee, please do, please let us know. If somebody could keep track of who said yes, that would be great. I don't want to miss anybody. I mean, I'll keep track too. Let check. That would be great. It's not an onerous thing. And also, what we do is we generally work with Brian, and we look to see if there's any legislative initiatives that are coming down the pipe. And we'll schedule meetings sometimes like every 2 weeks to begin with, and as it gets towards the end of the legislative session, and this is be a long one, we might schedule every week, because then things really speed up as they get going. But what'll happen is we'll put them on our calendars. Many times if something hasn't happened really between the last meeting and the one that's scheduled, we'll just cancel it. So you don't have to worry about having a whole bunch of meetings, and they're fairly quick. What we do is we look to see what the legislation is, and then we could write to some of the different committees and give them our opinion. The committees, when they have hearings on the proposed legislation, have public hearings, but they also take written testimonials for the submission, so you don't have to be there. And we have had good success and good cooperation. I know Representative Comey is really good in working with us, and we did have some good success in getting, some fine tuning going in. So particularly 2 years ago was a big one. It was restraint and seclusion, and we were pretty involved in that. And I think we got some good results on that. Last year, there wasn't as much. It was a short session, and a lot of the direction of the legislature wasn't tuned to the educational stuff, but we were able to get some little things in there. But, for example, such as if you're making a claim where you want to have it, if there was an issue where a child had to be restrained, and then the question was, when do the parents get notice of it? Well, it used to be, we had to do it within 24 hours. No, we want to have it the same day of. And so those are some of the things we work on. So, and it's rewarding. Let me just say it's rewarding. So anybody that wants to be on it, please join.
And Jeff, if we were Thursdays at 10 a.m., was that around?
Yeah, that's when we had done it in the past, yeah.
Yeah, but I want to make sure that we make sure Representative Comey can be in attendance, Representative with your schedule. Okay, if you can pop in, because you're very valuable in those sessions. So if we could just get some on the calendar, Jeff, and then we could cancel them if we don't need them.
Okay, the session starts when offhand I had it.
But we have a couple of things that we had already suggested concerning safety. We would like to get those in before the session, before the committees meet. Is that
Okay,
right,
so,
Representative Comey, or no? Beforehand?
Yeah, so we the first couple of weeks of session, so we start January 8th, and the first couple of weeks of session is when I would put in any individual policies that I want to get through, or we work with committee chairs a little, we have a few more, we have another week or so to do it through, but we should have our ducks in a row at least by mid-January, by that second week. I don't have the dates yet on deadlines and stuff like that, but it'll move really fast.
So Jeff, if you could just get a meeting in December, that would be so appreciated.
I think so too. And Thursdays
Yeah,
at 10 are typically okay.
Yeah, Thursdays at 10.
so Christmas is on a Wednesday, this basically the second to last weekend. So we could a week of the month, we could do something on the 19th, which would be the Thursday prior to Christmas. I'm assuming a lot of people are going to be off with Christmas on a Wednesday. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of people out for the 26th, 27th. We can do the 19th. We can also do something the 2 weeks after that on January 2nd. I don't know if it's going to be so. I could put that out there as.
Is the 12th available, Jeff? Because I actually, if you want me there, I actually start jury duty December 17th.
12th is fine too. We can do it the 12th and maybe the 2nd. I don't know. So you want to do that?
If you could just pop in the 12th, if we could look at that.
Okay.
Representative Comey, would you guys look at that? And then I think maybe Jeff, just do an invite out to everybody who was on the legislative committee.
Yep.
And if someone else wants, and then that way, and then they'll send, and if anyone who doesn't want to be on it gets the invite, just let us know and we'll take you off. And if you want to be on it and you aren't on it, please. Oh, yeah, you can attend any meetings before no one has to commit to this. This is when you have time.
Yeah, maybe could you send that invite to everyone, just so
Yeah.
everyone has it? If we send it to the full SAC, we're all where we put it on our calendars and join if we're able.
Yeah,
that
because
would actually
sometimes, there's, when we get rolling, there's a lot, but then it's okay if you can't come, but sometimes what we can do is whatever we're planning on, Jeff writes something usually very eloquent, and then we all look at it ourselves on our own time. Yes, Jeff, you do write something eloquent. Don't shake your head.
I'm doing cartoons this year.
Yeah, does 11 to 12 work for you, or just the 11 time frame work for you on that date, on the 12th?
10. December, did we say 11? I thought we said 10 a.m.
We had said 10, but Jolie's asking if 11 works. I don't know if
Because if there's any, if you're looking for Brian to pop in, Brian's available after, not at 10, he's not available.
And Missy's not available on the 12th. Representative Comey, are you available at 11 on that day?
No.
No.
We're talking
I'm-
about December 12th, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
if we could just keep it that 10 a.m. because this is stuff that, and then we won't do anything until, we'll make sure Brian gets it before anything is done.
Yeah, I don't think you'll need me necessarily, because this is
There's nothing to
before
report
the
on.
session starts, so.
Right.
We're just kind of gathering together. I'm sure you'll have something to report on the special education task force by then, so we'll be sure to share information, but if you all feel free to meet in my absence on that, if that
Well,
works.
let's put it on the books. Let's put it on the books, and if there's nothing to discuss, then we can just cancel it and move it to another day, but let's just put it in the books.
Okay, I think it's good we get going. Is there
Okay.
anything else, Mr. Spar? Thank you for everything you're doing. Anything else?
Nope, I'm all set. Just I appreciate that Brian will now be joining the World Wrestling Federation.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, new business. Mr. Klimkowitz.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So we have a treat for you this afternoon. We have a presentation from Mike Tavernier, who is one of my colleagues at the Bureau of Special Education. Many of you probably know Mike, and for the newer members, Mike oversees the State Performance Plan Annual Performance Report, affectionately known as SPPAPR. So we have some information to share with you, as well as some feedback. If you recall, there are 17 indicators that we report on to the federal government related to special education, soon to be 18 with this upcoming submission. So we have some information to share with you on that. Before I turn it over to Michael, I just wanted to highlight a couple of quick things. Just letting you know that it's hard to believe we're in November already, and the school year is quickly making its way to the holiday seasons here. We held a special education summit previously on November 13th. And the purpose of that summit and the theme of the summit was a sense of belonging for our students with disabilities across the state, for our educators, for our parents and family members. And those of you that had an opportunity to attend our back to school session, that was our theme as well. And understanding what belonging means. We had a wonderful turnout. The governor showed up and had an appearance and spoke to the importance of students with exceptionalities in our state. And it was wonderful to see his support of the work that's happening on a daily basis and the support. We got to hear directly from the students in a student panel discussion that was facilitated by Catherine Shen from Who We Are in Connecticut Public Radio, which she did a wonderful job of facilitation. We also had a panel of local experts from our professional organizations, as well as Parent Voice as well. And so those conversations were wonderful, and we really appreciate those who had an opportunity to participate. The event was covered by CTN, so it'll be accessible if you didn't have an opportunity. I wanted to thank CERC and the CERC team for supporting the logistics of the registration process and coordinating many things behind the scenes to be able to support that activity. Commissioner Russell Tucker was there for words of welcome. And we also heard from the Para-Educator of the Year as well, who spoke very eloquently of what belonging means to her and her profession and her, she's a wonderful spokesperson for the para-educators. So just wanted to mention that. And, you know, we spoke about the CSDE role that we have at the State Department and our responsibilities, as well as the activities that we have ahead. We also took the opportunity to share that the dyslexia awareness campaign that was kicked off early in the school year and is continuing. We have a calendar of events and a website devoted to our dyslexia activities throughout the year. And so our Office of Dyslexia and Reading Disabilities continues that work, and we're hopeful to disseminate that information far and wide. So if you can share that with your stakeholder groups and your folks that you're all representing, that would be much appreciated. So I have a couple of other brief updates, but I want to make sure we have enough time to present the information around the State Performance Plan Annual Performance Report. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Michael. Michael, thank you for your time. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian. I hope everyone can hear me. It's nice to be with you all today.
Yep.
The last time I joined a meeting with you, you were in a very warm room at the LOB. So hopefully you're more comfortable today. I'm going to share my screen if I can figure that out, and hopefully you'll be able to see the information that I have prepared for you. Is that coming through?
Not yet.
Not yet. So let me.
There it is. Now we have it.
Okay. So as Brian mentioned, I wanted to go over some information around the State Performance Plan Annual Performance Report. And one thing that is having the SAC members give their ideas and thoughts on suggestions for improvement activities. Things that we could think about developing training, resources, potential research topics that we could look into, help Connecticut improve its performance on the SPP indicators, and ultimately to help support students, families, and school district staff with this work. So instead of doing it in a similar format as last year, I thought it also would be interesting for you to see the latest data that we had reported to OSEP. We do post the SPP on the website once it's finalized after we respond to OSEP's questions, but I'm not sure you all have time to actually go in and take a close look at that. So I thought you might like to see where we are as far as our performance on these 17 indicators.
Mike, sorry to interrupt. I just want to let you know and let folks know that I put the indicator resource that we've disseminated previously in the chat for folks that wanted to have that open while we're discussing.
Perfect. Thank you. So there's a lot of information in a short amount of time. I'm going to go through it quickly, and hopefully I won't get too tongue-tied, which sometimes happen when I speak quickly, but fasten your seatbelts, and here we go. First two indicators are indicator 1 and 2, graduation and dropout. These two indicators have what's called a data lag. The data are 1 year older than many of the other indicators that we report on. So the graduation and dropout data we reported this past year are from 21-22. Our target for the graduation rate, so this would be students with IEPs graduating with a regular high school diploma, is 85%. And the data we just reported was just below the target, very close, but below the target. We had just over 6,000 students with disabilities exiting, and over 5,000 of those students did exit with a regular high school diploma. The dropout rate, our target is to have less than 12% of students with disabilities drop out, and these are annual rates. We were over the target, so we did not meet our target in the 21-22 school year. We do have a pretty strong sense that this is still some fallout from pandemic because these data are a little bit older than the other data, and we're hoping that these data will improve and stabilize in the coming year or so. Indicator 3 is around performance on statewide assessment. And this would be the 22-23 school year assessment. So pretty much the spring of 23 administration. And we look at reading and math. The first thing we report on is the participation rate. The target rate is 95%, and that's set by the ESSA standard requirement rate. Grade 4, we met the target. For grade 8, in both areas, we were below just by about 1.5%. And grade 11, it's quite a bit below. It's about 10.5% below the 95% target for the participation rate of students with IEPs participating in the statewide assessment. These data are pretty typical. We do every year after year, we do see the grade 11 being below the other 2 grades that we report on. 3B proficiency rate on the standard assessment. We have multiple targets based on the grade and the subject area, either the reading or math. We met targets in grade 4. We were below targets in grade 8 by just about less than 1%, so pretty close to the targets. And grade 11, we were very close to the target in math, but we were below the target, and we were a little bit more below the target in the reading for grade 11. 3D looks at the gap between students with IEPs and their typical peers. And we set the target and hoping the gap is decreasing over time. We did meet our target on the gap for all 3 grades that we report on. And these are a little bit out of order. 3C, it makes more sense to me. We talk about the standard assessment first and then move on to the alternate assessment. The alternate assessment proficiency rate, we met our targets in grades 4 and 8, and we were just below the target in math for grade 11, and then a little bit more below the target, about 5% in reading for the grade 11. So grade 4 and 8 would be the Smarter Balanced, and grade 11 is the school day SAT assessment. Indicator 4 is discipline, suspension, and expulsion rates. So these 2 indicators report on if there is a significant discrepancy. Connecticut's defined a significant discrepancy of having over 2% of students with disabilities suspended or expelled for greater than 10 days in a year. The targets are based on what percentage of LEAs have been identified with a significant discrepancy. Our target is to have less than 20% of LEAs identified as having a significant discrepancy. In the most recent data, we had 12.35% of our LEAs, 21 LEAs identified. So we did meet the target. We were less than the 20%. And similar to indicators 1 and 2, these indicators 4A and 4B do have a data lag. So these are the last 2 that the data are 1 year older than the rest of the data. 4B is also about significant discrepancy, but it's analyzed by race. And an important component here is that discrepancy needs to be caused by having inappropriate policies, procedures, or practices. Past year, the target is 0, of course. We don't want any districts to be identified for this. And we did identify 4 districts that had showed rates of significant discrepancy based on an inappropriate policy or procedure or practice in the district. So I have a colleague, Kim Traverso, who leads the work on this, and she has done a great job with working with these districts on corrective action plans and getting them to be in line with all of the related requirements. Indicator 5 and 6 is they're both about where students are being educated. Indicator 5 is for students in grades K through 12. And 5A is about if they're receiving their education 80% or more of the time with non-disabled peers. Our target is 67.5, and we met the target this last reporting cycle. 5B is the restrictive settings in district, so less than 40% time with non-disabled peers. We were above our 7.2% target, so we did not meet that this past year. 5C is around students who are outplaced. Our target is the same as 5B, 7.2%. We met the target, we were below the target. 6.4% of the students were outplaced this past reporting cycle. It's an interesting note to see that these two are connected. As districts work toward bringing students back into district from out of district placements, you see this number dropping. Typically, when they first come back, they go into a more restrictive setting in the district, a 0 to 40%. But as this number goes down, very often the inverse happens to the 5B number. It starts to go up a little bit before the district has a chance to then transition the students to less restrictive settings within the district. Indicator 6 is around pre-K students. And we met the target for the percentage of students having their program in a regular early childhood program. We also met the target for students being educated in a separate class, a separate setting. And then the target for students and pre-K being educated at home, we met the target by a lot. Our target was 2.5% and only 0.31% of pre-K students are being educated in their home. Indicator 7 is around the outcomes for pre-K students. And this is gauged by using the Brugance diagnostic test, and students going into pre-K have a pre-test, and before they exit, they have a post-test. And their growth between the pre and post-test is calculated. There's 3 outcome areas we report on: positive social emotional skills, acquisition and use of knowledge and skills, and use of appropriate behavior to meet their needs. For each of these outcome areas, we met our target for these students substantially increasing their rate of growth between the pre and post-test. But we did not meet the target for having students in pre-K exit at a place where they're functioning within age expectations. So although they made substantial growth, the students did not overall as a group meet our targets for exiting within age expectation. Indicator 8 is parent involvement, and this reports through a survey on the number of parents who report that the school and district facilitated their involvement in their child's program and IEP. Our target is 85%, and we made the target. The data show 85.11% of parents agreeing that the schools and districts facilitated their involvement. And that's pretty, I think, pretty stable. Something positive to report on this, our response rate increased dramatically this past year. We went from 5.9% of our response rate the year before up to 18.54%. So that's quite a jump in the response of parents. And we're crediting the CT SED system and having current information for parents and being able to reach parents more capably than when we were in the past. Indicators 9 and 10. These indicators look at disproportionate representation. So these are analyzed by race, and indicator 9 looks at disproportionate representation in special ed overall, and indicator 10 looks at specific disability categories. The key pieces here is that the disproportionate representation needs to be a result of an inappropriate identification. Our targets are 0. Of course, we don't want this happening, and we met the target. We did not find any students being, or any districts having disproportionate representation because they were inappropriately identifying students. Indicators 11 and 12 are both about timelines. Indicator 11 is around the initial evaluation timeline. So that's 45 school days from referral to having an IEP implemented after the evaluation and eligibility determination. Our target is 100%. We expect that to be happening every single time. This past year, we had a drop of 85. We reported 85.66%. And we're attributing some of that difficulty to staff still figuring out and working with the new CT SED system. Although we addressed the issues they were having with our vendor, there was still quite a bit of a learning curve and just staff getting comfortable using the system and understanding how it all operates. Indicator 12 about meeting the timeline for students referred from birth to 3 and having an IEP in place and offering FAPE by the time they turn age 3. Again, the target's 100%. We did not meet the target. We reported 96.26% rate for that happening. There were some CT SEDS issues also happening here, and staff not understanding that the IEP needed to be implemented before their 3rd birthday. If their birthday was in the summer, they would have the IEP start on the first day of school after their 3rd birthday. And that does not fulfill the requirement. So we've put out some guidance on that, and hopefully we'll see some improvement on that, and staff will understand what the proper procedure is in those cases of those summer birthdays. And again, if they are late by 1 day, if the IEP is implemented the day after they turn 3, they do not get credit for that. It has to be on or before the 3rd birthday. Indicator 13 and 14. These are about our older students. Indicator 13, students age 14 and older, having secondary transition programs in place. The target is that we would expect 100% of our students 14 and older to have all the necessary requirements. We didn't meet the target this past year. We were at 96.12%. These are things like having an appropriate transition assessment, having transition goals, having appropriate outside agencies invited if it's required and appropriate. Indicator 14 is a survey about what are you doing after you leave school, after you exit. 1 year after students exit school, they receive a survey. Let us know what you're doing. We report on 3 areas and kind of cumulative to kind of build on each other. First, the first thing we report is the number or percentage of students who are enrolled in higher ed 1 year after leaving school, high school. Our target was 40%, and we met the target. B, as being competitively employed. So it keeps the being in higher ed or being competitively employed. Our target's 85%, and we met that target. And C is a bit of a catch-all. It's higher ed, some other type of training program, competitively employed, or some other type of employment, maybe a sheltered workshop type of situation. Our target is 95%, and we have 98.3% reporting that they're doing something in this area 1 year after leaving school. Indicator 15 and 16, these are about due process outcomes. Resolution sessions is about successful resolution sessions after a due process hearing's been requested. Our target is that there will be a 30% successful resolution session rate, and we met that target. This is a really hard one to set targets for. We don't really have any control over this as a State Department, but nevertheless, it's in the regulations that we report on this, so we do. Mediation agreements, our target is that there'll be 55% will end in a mediation agreement, and we met that target without any problems. This is also kind of challenging. Providing really good training to mediators, I think, helps this number go up. And one thing that doesn't help is if they come to an agreement the day after or a couple days after the mediation, they don't get credit for that. There has to be an agreement on the day of mediation for it to count in these data. Okay, one more. Indicator 17 is the State Systemic Improvement Plan, the ESIP. This is looking at grade 3 ELA performance, students with disabilities and their proficiency in ELA for grade 3 statewide assessment. We use the performance index that we use for our accountability to report on this. Our target was 47.5, and we met the target for our indicator 17, SIMR, which is the grade 3 early reading. So I know that was a lot. I only got tongue tied up a little bit. Just again, you know, as I went through these data, if you had some thoughts or if you're thinking about this maybe later on, and you said, you know, based on what Mike said, you know, a training that they might want to consider is something about whatever. or, a resource that might be helpful for parents or families or for school staff, maybe you want to think about developing a resource around this. That would be something that we would love to hear from you. I'm sure you have a mechanism for emailing your ideas back to us. I know last year I received some, and really grateful for the people who took the time. Some very thoughtful input was given after I shared this with you last year. And so again, anytime that the SAC would like to provide input on how we can improve our performance on the indicators, we'll definitely be happy to take a look at any of those ideas. I do also want to mention while I'm here today quickly, I will be asking to come back and present something different to the SAC in a couple of months, or maybe sometime in the spring. I want to work on a resource that helps explain the indicators to parents and families, because it's not always really accessible for parents to understand really what is the state performance plan, how does it affect me, how does it affect my child. Arizona developed a really nice tool to help that, and I'm looking to adapt that for Connecticut. And when I have that done, I'd love to share that with you and get your ideas and thoughts on that as well. So unfortunately, we don't really have time for questions, but I did give Brian a couple minutes, I think, so he can jump back on and share his final thoughts on things he wanted to share with the group. And so I will say goodbye and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Very good.
Much appreciated, Michael. So we'll definitely share out the document too that was shared, but we have a couple of different ideas through the year, how you can all contribute to your ideas. And we have some useful documents. CERC does a really nice job of the professional development activities that we have based on the indicators that they're aligned with. So we'll be sure to share those with you as well. And our work with the RESC Alliance are two kind of major contributors in expanding our capacity to support the needs of training, not only for our educators, also our para-educators and all those that are involved with the education of our students. And of course, our partnership with CPAC as well as the Parent Training and Information Center. So we'll be working collaboratively and touch points with the parent leadership groups that some of you are part of or have been in the past and presenting this information, but it's very complex. When you dive into the data, it can be very confusing, like Mike said. So we're looking at different ways to help, I guess, put this information in digestible chunks in ways that we can ensure that we answer your questions, the data are clear, and that your recommendations are incorporated in our reporting to the federal government. So any questions from the group that we can answer right now, or initial comments that you have? We're willing and able to listen to those now. If not, like Michael said, we'll throughout the rest of the the months ahead provide avenues for you to share your information.
Josh and Tom have their hands up.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen.
Hey, Brian, is the graduation, is it the 6-year, 4-year, or is it just the general graduation rate?
Yeah, so go ahead, Mike. I see you're unmuted.
It used to be a 4-year cohort rate. It is now an annual rate. It's an annual graduation rate.
Yeah. We run all those figures at the state level, Josh, to delineate and differentiate for the school districts.
Thanks. And is it, I'm sorry,
If you're,
is it an on-time rate, or is it as long as we report the student as graduating?
That's right. Yeah, it's the students who graduate with the regular diploma. Yeah.
Thanks.
Those of you that were on the that were able to participate in the Special Education Summit, John Eisenberg presented too. I forgot to mention that earlier, but we had two national speakers. One was Nate Levinson, who had done different work in Connecticut in the state, most recently around the CT SEDS rollout and working with districts to understand the best practices and so forth, and recommendations for the State Department. Nate also has done a lot of work around retention and recruitment across the country and here in Connecticut as well. And John Eisenberg is the director of the National Association of Special Education Directors of Special Education. And so NASZ. But in his presentation, he pointed to the fact of Connecticut's graduation rates, which are above average when compared to other states. However, the dropout rates for us are slightly higher than the average in a couple of states. So, we're trying to understand that. As Mike said, the data lag. We're trying to understand the impact of the pandemic there. Obviously, the impact that our chronic absenteeism rates have in our state are critical, and we need to have our students engaged, and that sense of belonging applies to most of the indicators, but especially when we're thinking about students that are dropping out from school or not able to achieve that high school diploma. That is the ultimate goal within the system. So just wanted to mention that. And if you haven't, we're going to be sharing out the presentations from the summit as well from the national experts, so you can take a look at those. But there are some federal data there that compare Connecticut's performance with others.
If a student has a couple of credits to finish up over the course of the summer in order to graduate, would that be included in the graduation, or just that what graduates in June?
Probably would be counted in the following year rate.
Following year, okay. So, okay, because so technically they could have been the class of 2024 and got a diploma for 2024, even if they finished up in August, right? But that's still counted the next year.
Yeah, it's based on when they're entered as exited in the public school information system, as exiting with using the exit code when they actually leave the district.
Okay, thank you.
Great questions.
We have Tom, Susan, and then.
Yeah, so I'll just be quick. There's a lot of information in this, as always. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. I've been doing this for more than a couple of years. And for those of you who have been doing it for 0 or a couple of years, good luck. It's a lot to absorb. So I would appreciate, for Disability Rights Connecticut and all of us really, for those opportunities to kind of, circle back on this, get the data, get the information, sleep on it, think on it. We've done this in the past where we've had points where we set aside time in our meetings to discuss, to give feedback, et cetera. I think sometimes that there's value in us, brainstorming off each other and thinking about this stuff and, asking questions and giving feedback. So I think that would be great in the coming months, whenever that happens. I think that would be great. Cause I've jotted down maybe 5 or 27 questions, you know what I mean? And the comments and thoughts, as you might imagine, on a lot of different aspects, which is just, I don't want to get into details, but I think I would love to at some point get into those details and ask those questions. So, so I appreciate it.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, just a couple of quick comments too. Mike was referencing some of the new resources that we're developing. So we're very excited about that. And I think it would be beneficial too, and we could talk with the executive committee about this, is to do an overview of the local annual performance reports as well. What's included in the district level reporting, why some are not applicable, where others are, some of our data, I'm blanking on the term. Where we have less than 6, Mike, help me out here. I'm blanking on the term.
Suppression?
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
Data suppression.
Publicly reportable, yeah.
Yeah. Must be the lack of sunlight for me. But yeah, data suppression rules and things like that you all might have questions about, because the district size and makes a difference too in the determinations. One of the things you've been instrumental in for us as well is how the determinations are made for our local districts, and that over time we've moved away from compliance only indicators. As you heard from Michael, like when we have 0 or 100%, that's a compliance indicator. It means that it has to be done, and it's a compliance issue, versus the targets that we're setting around results. And we've infused some other mechanisms into the like chronic absenteeism. We heard from groups to say this impacts all of the indicators, or at least most of the indicators, and we know that's important, and we need to shine a light on that. The districts are working hard to address those issues, but when they're upfront and on the annual performance report and contribute to the determinations, it puts an extra level of, at least importance and communication and transparency around those challenging issues that our local districts are facing. And so as we look to, continue to incorporate more results-based indicators into our determinations, the State Advisory Council will play a critical role in that. So thank you in advance. And we're looking forward to the resources and your feedback on the new resources that we're developing. So as Mike said, parents and families can understand the work.
Great. Michael, thank you so much, Brian. Mike, thank you so much for your presentation. I just had a quick question. I don't know which indicator it was. It was one of the like 14.
Okay.
After they graduate, when you capture the information of how successful they are a year out, is that June to June?
It's 1 year after exiting. So
if they exit in June.
Yeah, so if they exit in June, what are they doing the
So-
following June? Yeah.
So are you missing maybe the ones that drop out of college or
No.
not working? Are you missing that? Because usually it takes them a year, that year to
Yeah,
figure out.
that's a good question. We do get some data from Department of Labor and higher ed institutions that we have agreements with. But despite it doesn't matter what type of exit the student had, if they exited by dropping out, then they would still get the survey. If we need to have the current contact information, of course, and if they're moving around, the survey may not reach them if they have a different phone. Sometimes students will get a cell phone, or we just don't have a way of contacting them. But it doesn't matter what type of exit they had, graduation, aging out.
Oh, no. I mean, they did a year of college. They somehow it didn't work out for them with their accessibility. And so then they left. Would you be able to capture that if you're only going?
Yeah, I believe, that's a good question. I believe it says, had at least 6 months within the past year attending a higher ed.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll let
Yeah, those
Representative.
are great questions.
Okay, so this is just special ed data, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The preschool outcomes, what, are you guys, have you looked, I don't know when you put together and submitted this data, but do you have, what do you attribute that to? That you made progress, which is, I'm just trying to understand what that all means, but that you did not meet, the goal. And I'm just, wondering, because it's across agency, right? I assume, it's OEC as well. I mean, how are you guys acknowledging that and working on that?
Well, we have we have set targets based on the baseline data. And there are members, I believe, of the SAC who were part of that target setting group. The department sets the targets, but we do consider input from stakeholders on doing that. So our targets may be a little aggressive and we're not meeting the targets. That's something that we can look at. I don't feel like they are overly aggressive. So having students function within age expectations. Again, I don't want to always use pandemic as the answer, but these students, a lot of these students had very limited social interactions when they were very, very young. And we may still be seeing a bit of repercussion from that. And some of the fallout from that if they were very isolated at home and did not have a lot of social experiences.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. It's 23-24 data. Is that what or 22-23?
It's 22-23.
Okay, so it is coming out of it, and that they were arriving probably more behind. And this is for the special ed programs within the districts, right? I mean, the preschool special ed programs.
Right, these
within
would
the
not be
districts?
any kind of typical peers that are attending the program. These would be students with special ed or special needs.
Okay, okay, just wondering what the, thank you.
Just a note on the early childhood outcomes too. We're engaged in a process of transitioning for the tool that the districts are using. Mike mentioned that the tool that's currently being used is the Brigance, and we're moving to CT Dots. That's a tool that was developed in collaboration with the Office of Early Childhood. And so we're piloting that with districts right now as we speak. So Renee Kleinman is our 619 coordinator for early childhood and special education. And so we've shared some preliminary information with you, but we'll be reaching out again through the course of the year. One, to update you on our process and our progress of moving to a different instrument. The reason we're moving to that instrument is because we don't want to use a tool that's only for data submission purposes and that isn't useful information to help program for the students. And so we feel that this new tool will be more useful in not only programming at the classroom level for our youngest students, but also in developing IEP goals and objectives more aligned with that assessment tool. So we're very excited about that work and the collaboration with the Office of Early Childhood. We were initially anticipating rolling that out this next school year, but we are creating a longer runway for districts after the pilot that is occurring this spring and putting training in place. Also, you've heard us speak about our state personnel development grant, where we received just under $6 million over 5 years. The focus of that grant is to support progress monitoring, specifically in math goals and objectives. We have over 22,000 individual students with math goals in their IEPs. And so there's a particular focus of this grant to provide coaching and support in the area of mathematics. But the third goal of the state personnel development grant is that early childhood transition from birth to 3 to public schools, which also involves, parent information rollout, supporting school teams. So we feel like the combination of the new assessment tool and the state personnel development grant will also hopefully, boost the results of the early childhood outcomes.
Yeah, I mean, and the preschools have been using the dots for some
Yeah,
years now, at
they
least 5 years. I mean, 6
That's
years.
right.
So we're going to change it right when you guys get on board.
On changing that, yeah. So, but it's nice to have that alignment though, right? That, people are familiar with it and it's a tool for our state specifically, and it meets the needs of OSIP reporting. So it's, we've had a lot of support in this transition.
That's wonderful. Does anyone else have any more questions? No? Great. And thank you, Jen, for translating all the acronyms for us. We tabled the voting on the minutes, so we have to quickly do that, and then we might have a few minutes for roundtable. So the consent agenda, the October 16th, 2024 full council minutes need to be approved. They were sent this morning. I was wondering, I looked over them, I didn't see any corrections. Does anyone have any corrections? Tom?
Name's not on there in a present, so just add my name to the present.
Okay. I don't know who's taking, Jolie, did you hear that? Tom was present? Or is that Holly? Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Holly. Great. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm trying to find, oh, there it is. Under 4, it says Susan Y and Joshua Martin, and last name is a lowercase m, should be capital.
Thank you. Anyone else for any corrections for the October 16th notes? Meeting notes? No?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, Lori. Does anyone abstain who wasn't there? Missy? Amy? That's all I see right now. Okay, let's take a vote on the October 16th minutes with corrections to be approved. Wonderful. The minutes are approved. Okay, next, quickly, roundtable. So this is where we share any unmet needs and also any positives. And if you are on a special education committee that has any updates that you think that we need to hear, that's also appreciated. Don't forget that if we don't share events at this roundtable, those are sent to Jen Lucier, and she will disseminate them out to the group. So if you have something to share, and you don't have to share if you don't want to share, please raise your virtual hand. Anybody? Nobody. Wow. Okay, great. Oh, Jen put her email in just in case if you have an event to share. Well, I guess we are going to end, we don't have much time, but we're going to end the public meeting, and then our next couple of minutes, I guess, talk priorities. Or Brian, or do you think we should just adjourn at 3:17?
Thanks, Susan. Yeah, so because of the short meeting today, we aren't able to dive into the priorities, but just didn't know if we wanted to highlight any work that's been happening in a report. The last several meetings, you all have contributed to documents around your priority areas that the executive committee has been working diligently on and completing sections of the annual report. And so that work's coming together. Susan, at the head of the meeting today, a little bit earlier, you mentioned the upcoming meetings that you all have to continue to work on that.
Yeah.
So didn't know if any members of the executive committee wanted to comment on the annual report or timelines or different ways that we can support at CERC and CSDE the activities ahead and the weeks ahead, because January 8th is coming quickly. And that's when the session kicks off. So I know we will want to make sure that we have a finalized report in the hands of the legislation and the State Department of Education, amongst the other entities that we send out to.
Right. So you should have, I had sent an email just as a reminder that we were looking for the paper, the documents that had all the notes from the meetings on priorities and recommendations, because we're having difficulties with the actual, we were erasing everything that we were typing and erasing everything in a report in the document that the shared document.
Sure.
So, and I thank you. So I just want to make sure we have all the notes.
Yeah. Yeah. And those were all the thoughts and the ideas that were captured over the course of the last 3 meetings and even into the summer for the priority session. So appreciate everyone's input and contributions to the document. It's coming together really nicely, and we look forward to supporting the process.
Okay, so that's great. Don't worry, we will make it happen.
Always does. It always comes.
Always
together.
does.
Usually,
Always does. Okay, great. So our next meeting is, when is our, I wanted everybody, if you are looking at the original agenda, the January 15th meeting had the wrong time, but it's been corrected since. It says on the one that comes on the back of the agenda, it says 10 to 2. It's not, that's a 9 to 10:30 a.m. virtual. Jolie corrected it and sent a revised. She kindly corrected it and sent a revised agenda. But I just want to make sure everybody knew that. So we won't see everybody until January 15th at 9 a.m. virtual. All right. So if anybody needs anything, reach out to me, executive committee. Okay. And I hope to hear from, I'll hear from Jeff soon, right? We're going to work on legislative date. We got all that set, right? We're meeting on the 12th. Right? At 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Wonderful. So I'm going to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Wonderful. Okay, we are adjourning at 3:20 p.m. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate it.
I have a question.
Okay.